Hello, and welcome to another edition of Be Vital podcast. I'm Marcia Hawkins, your host, along with Stephanie Nascimento, the founder and Chief Operating Officer at Be Vital in Hadley, Massachusetts. And we're going to be talking today about some of the newer peptides. And I do want to circle back, Stephanie, and talk a little bit about some of the potential side effects with some of the GLP-1. So welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So I was away and I was really happy to get connected with you. But when I was in flight, I was doing a lot of research about the GLP-1s and trying to learn as much as I can about it because we are now offering peptides at Elevate Living Studio in Deerfield, Massachusetts. And one of the things that came up, I know we have done previous podcasts regarding the potential side effects. And I think I went pretty in depth about your gut health and slowing down your digestive system and how that can cause the nausea, some constipation. And I think we both agreed that sometimes you would get those side effects regardless because of your diet. But the couple things we didn't touch upon, and that's what I wanted to ask you about today, is hair loss and the muscle loss. So I was wondering if you could
Yes.
address me.
Of course, those are unfortunately two big things that can happen during GLP weight loss, but they're also like some of the other side effects that we spoke about last time. There are ways to minimize that. I can't promise you that there'll be none, like no weight loss. No muscle loss, because when you are in a weight loss mode, that does happen. But to minimize the muscle loss is what is very important and can be done.
Well, why do they lose muscle? What's the medical reason?
So if you're carrying a 5 pound bag of potatoes around, right, that's extra weight. And that extra weight, that resistance is going to build your muscle and keep your muscle there, right? But if you drop that 5 pound bag of potatoes and you're not carrying it around anymore, then the muscle that's needed to carry that 5 pound bag of potatoes is no longer needed. So that's one reason why during any weight loss program, people lose muscle as well as their weight. Does that make
So
sense?
can you negate that by doing strength training?
Exactly. So it is crucial to, this is not something, GLP is not something that you do without resistant training. That is something that we tell all of our patients, all of our clients. Resistance training is very important. You don't have to be doing it 5, 6 days a week, but having it as part of your lifestyle and part of your weekly plan is very important.
So if you are ready, so for example, if you're microdosing and you're doing it more for inflammation, what are the reasons someone's going to microdose? Inflammation, what else?
It really does manage some autoimmune disorders. So, overall systemic inflammation, managing autoimmune. They might be microdosing in their maintenance if they've lost a decent amount of weight and they're wanting to manage that. In maintenance, some people don't need that. But if you're someone that has a lot of food noise or overeating patterns, then you will probably need to microdose in your maintenance program.
So just by having a healthy exercise regimen, doing some light weightlifting, not necessarily to bench press 350 pounds, but ensuring that you are working those muscles, much like that 5 pound potato bag, that will negate that side effect.
That's right. Yes. And
Oh,
the other thing that I want to discuss is muscle loss often will happen because you're not eating enough protein. So the body will break down fat, muscle, and carbs for energy. Right. So I should say fat, protein, and carbs. So if you're not giving yourself a lot of food, generally speaking, and you are not giving yourself a lot of carbs because you're basically eating less overall, then the body is going to target that fat cells that you have stored in your body and break down fat. As long as you're giving enough protein consistently throughout the day, then it's not going to turn to your muscle.
that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Going back to the side effects that we discussed on a previous podcast, we were talking about that. and oh, I'm nauseous, or I'm constipated, or I'm this, or I'm that. That can happen with people who are not on GLP-1s. It's their overall diet. They're not drinking enough water. They're not. We talked about the fiber intake and eating the proper foods to make sure that it works like a symphony with the GLP-1s. But a lot of this can happen whether you're on them or not. So that is a great point. What about the hair loss? What is the genesis of that, and how is that counteracted?
So hair loss is off, again, another thing that can happen with any weight loss program. So it's not just specific to GLPs. It's something
Oh,
that you
okay.
have, yeah. And so again, in social media, in the media, in the news, we're hearing so much finger pointing at GLPs for these things. But in my experience, I've been doing weight loss at my clinic, so the Hadley Clinic at 226 Russell Street. We've been doing weight loss for 14 years. And we've seen this along every program that we have been working with. So that is not new to GLP weight loss. It's just being highlighted right now in the news. So to prevent hair loss, some of the things that you can do actually is going back to that adequate amount of protein. So, protein, you want to aim for 30, generally speaking, again, everyone is different, but 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. So, if you want to know what that is, just plug in your eggs or plug in your Greek yogurt into the internet, and it will tell you exactly how many grams of protein it has based on how much of that protein you're eating. So 30 to 40 grams. That the reason why that is important is because the our hair follicles require amino acids. So that is one way to prevent shedding. Okay, so low protein intake leads to more shedding. The other key aspect is your micronutrients. So if you're cutting all of your meals in half and you're not getting enough in, or you're not being good about reminding yourself to snack during your GLP weight loss, then you might be missing vitamins or nutrients such as iron, vitamin D, zinc, biotin, your B vitamins. All of those are integral in hair health. So you want to look at hair health. There's other ways to support it, like collagen, and there's a lot of, I think we mentioned this, the hair, skin, and nails products. We use one that we really, really love that is great at supporting hair health. And then, of course, avoiding skipping all of your meals. The ideal thing to do with your GLP weight loss is to make sure that you're getting a variety of colors in your diet and that you are actually eating and you're not just going into extreme fasting.
That makes perfect sense. And you're right. You would get that with any diet. If you're all of a sudden going on a caloric restriction and you're not getting all of that, of course, that's going to affect your hair, your skin, your nails. Just like we talked about getting the adequate intake of fiber and hydration. I know a lot of people that they're like, I eat so much fiber and I'm constantly constipated. But then I look and I never see them drink any water ever.
Right. Yes.
So you can take all the fiber you want and it's just going to sit there. So yeah, you got to have
Absolutely.
to pull that hydration into the digestive system in order to help with the elimination. So that makes total sense as well. So I'm really glad we talked about that, because after I was researching a little bit more, I thought, we didn't talk about that on the last podcast. So thank you for addressing that. Makes complete sense. And I will incorporate that in at Elevate Living Studio. Also, let's talk about some of the new peptides we're now offering. The MOTS. Let's talk about that one and what it does.
Oh, it's my favorite one. Close to my favorite, I should say. MOTS is just an awesome, awesome peptide. There are two that are kind of the shining star in mitochondrial health, and that's MOTS and NAD plus, which many people have already heard about NAD plus because it has been talked about a little bit more than the MOTS. But MOTS is a gem. It's actually a peptide that is made in the mitochondria. So it's produced actually in the nucleus of the cell. So the way that it acts is on the body's ability to create energy. So if people have mitochondrial dysfunction in any way, which I don't know, that's a tricky one if you don't know cellular functioning. Basically, the mitochondria is your energy center of every cell. Okay, so that's how we produce energy. So if it's not working right, then you're not going to get enough energy for the body, and you might feel fatigue, and you might feel that you're always hungry because your body's constantly trying to get that energy. So this peptide plays a role in that cellular metabolism and also stress adaptation. So what that does, I know that's technical science verbiage, but what that does is it helps with your sugar metabolism, your insulin sensitivity, and fat utilization during exercise. There is, it's often referred to, I think, by the fitness gentlemen and women online as exercise in a bottle.
Oh,
So, yes, yeah, I actually
sign me up.
have. Yeah, I know, right? I have someone in my practice who can't exercise due to a medical condition. And so we use this with her and she is elated. I mean, the result she's getting is fantastic. So I've gotten to see that firsthand. Obviously, if someone can exercise, we always encourage that. But the fact that it can do some of that work cellularly without, get it hitting the gym if you can't, that is quite miraculous in my world.
Wow, that is amazing. Huh. So, yeah, we now offer that, which is fantastic. Are there any other new ones that there's one out there, it starts with a G, a couple of letters,
Yes,
copper.
copper
Yeah. Could you talk
peptide.
a little bit
Yes,
about that? I've
absolutely.
heard a lot about that one as well.
Sure. So, copper peptide is definitely used in a lot of aesthetic places, medi spas, and in the gyms. So, the fitness crew has been kind of ahead of us for quite some time. They've been using this for a really long time in conjunction with EPC 157 and TB 500. And that stack that work synergistically together, that's called Glow. Okay. So, they've been utilizing that for a really long time. And we don't know about that because that wasn't in mainstream media or medicine. So, but now that's getting some attention by medical professionals because it is something that is a signaling peptide for skin and hair recovery. So it aids in the skin. A lot of people on GLPs will talk about your skin feeling a little bit differently. It actually aids in the collagen production and elastin in their skin.
Oh, so there's no bad news here.
No. Well, you know what? The only thing that I have to say that is can take people back is that it is a little stingy upon injection, but your body does get used to that. So that is the only downside of, and I'll say this: it's the GHK-CU. It's a tripeptide. It's a small tripeptide, so it only has 3 amino acids. And the only thing about it, it's a beautiful blue color. And when you inject it, you can react just at the surface. It can be a little bit pink and a little stingy at first. And there's ways to overcome that. I use it every day. And I'll put a little ice on my abdomen before doing my injection.
Oh, see, I know, but I mean, it sounds like it's not stinging all day long. It's just when you're injecting it, correct?
When you inject it, it does sting. And then for some, it can be a little longer in the day. I have one person who's on it that says, yeah, it lasts about 24 hours for me. And it's just a slight little sting that she notices it, just enough that she
Oh,
notices it right. And she said, but then I do my next shot and she loves it so much. She doesn't care that it has a little burn
oh,
to it.
interesting.
So it does also, it's not just used for the aesthetic purpose. It does increase or improve wound healing and also leads to the reduction in systemic inflammation.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. Again, no
I
bad
know.
news. A little sting, but I think most people would take a little sting for the long-term benefits of it, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. The other way that it's used is in skin serums. So I use a skin serum with copper every night. And again, just love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I could do a podcast with you like every hour on the hour because you're always such a wealth of information, such great ideas. And let's face it, we're all fighting a time clock with aging and inflammation and your joints hurting. And finally, we talked about this on a previous podcast before. These peptides, you've been out for a long time, but they were really only available to the rich and famous. And now everybody has access to them, which we can help people get started on these peptide therapies if they want. So, with that
Right.
said, let's give them our contact information. And yeah.
Okay. So I am at B Vital, 226 Russell Street, Hadley, Massachusetts. You can contact us at our phone number 413-387-0219, or you can contact us through our email, or I'm sorry, our website or email at bvitalwellness.com.
Okay, perfect. And if you weren't able to write the links down, it will be if you're listening to this podcast, it will be in the subject line. You'll be able to, or the description, you'll be able to click on those links and click right through to Stephanie and get some information about feeling so much better. All right, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast for Be
Thank you.
Vital, again located in Hadley, Massachusetts. We will have another podcast out next week, and haven't decided what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure it will be good. Until then, make it a great week.
Bye.